5 foot tall daughter of a widowed immigrant, Chinese American, I don't see myself in media a lot. And so for me, a lot of it is about how do we create a safe space for women and women of color to be seen when traditionally they've been told, don't promote yourself or like don't talk about yourself. So it has definitely allowed me to dig much deeper into my message, where before it was like get PR, like boost your SEO, very logical, rational. But now it's like, what is the deeper layer behind that, which is an urgency and pressure. Like this, I call it kind of like a clenched butt cheeks ethos, right? It's like living with like your hand just like stiff like this. And now I just want to live just with unclenched butt cheeks. And I want to be able to have things flow. And so that has really helped my team to feel more spacious as well. I can show you all of the PR tools, but if you don't feel safe promoting for yourself, if you don't have a community where people are cheering for you, like it's generational work that we're doing. So that's what I mean by the deeper psychological safety that you must create.
No more excuses. No more branding band-aids. The art of positioning. Let's freaking go. Now's my time and I won't hesitate.
We're breaking up the panel-style episodes today to banter with a business owner who's pivoted and repositioned her business for a memorable and, well, badass brand. Gloria Chou went from US diplomat to PR Robin Hood, helping small businesses earn over 1 billion organic views and land in the New York Times, Vogue, and Oprah's favorite things, all without paying gatekeepers or having insider connections. And the doggos we see about the place, are they like the Little John to your Robin Hoodess?
Yeah, so I'm actually dog sitting right now for my neighbor. I don't know if you can, I don't know where he is, but yeah, you can see on the floor. Yeah, they're cute, and it's raining. So when it's raining, the dogs tend to want to be near you. So I have 2 dogs, my dog and then my neighbor's dog.
And so they're just there to hype up the journey and make keep you rolling. Moral support.
Yeah. Yes, totally.
All right, let's get in. So how has your business positioning evolved and changed since you started the business? That's what we're here for. Let's go straight in.
Ooh, so much has changed. So I think the common thread of where we are now is that like everyone is saying what used to work just doesn't work anymore. And I think that in many ways it's a hard thing for a lot of businesses, but it's also an amazing opportunity. If you think about going through the AI revolution, right? The COVID, the world, we're not the same. So neither are our audiences and neither should our messaging. And although it's hard and people had to pivot and launches are not working, it creates this incredible opportunity because it just liberates us from all of the business shoulds, which is like following other people's marketing templates and the 5, 6, bro marketers who had the kind of Bible on marketing. None of that's really working anymore. So it's time for us to really create a spaciousness to be like, what is it that we want to create? How do we want to get feedback from our audience instead of following other people's templates? Let's connect and see what people are wanting. So this happened to me maybe like 2 years ago, when things were kind of, I would say like 2024 last year is when things started to not go off the rails, but be very different. Like consumer behavior was different. People were oversaturated. There's experts everywhere. So people's online spidey senses were all-time high. There's a trust recession. And I just got on like 160 calls with my customers. Like I kid you not. And previously it's like, be vetted with the sales calls. Don't do any free calls. But I did the opposite. I actually just got on so many free calls with people and I was able to chat with existing customers, upsell them to what they're really wanting, expand my product suite, and then get all the feedback on why they're hesitant to join a program or work with an expert. And so I think information and content is just another thing that we don't want to give people. Like it should be for entertainment. So being in the online course industry, that just meant that we needed to deliver something that was more high touch, more personalized. We won't be able to scale as fast, but then it creates so much more richness to connect deeper. So I really think the kind of like funnel templates and click a video and watch this, like people just don't want to do that anymore. They want personalized solutions. They want to know, is this really for me? And another thing I'll add is with what's happening, especially in America, there's such a values identifying thing, right? Where it's like people want to know your values, and we are very polarized right now. You know, you can turn on the TV, and I don't care if you make a fidget spinner or if you do something that's like very non-political, like I don't know, if you're like a veterinarian. People want to know what your values are, and it doesn't have to be a political value, but they want to know what your values are. And so really leaning into what you stand for, what kind of space that you are creating creates that sort of personal resonance of psychological safety that I think we got away with for a long time with not having in our marketing. It was very much like benefits and features. But now people are like, okay, great, like everyone's an expert. I can get this on AI. But do you really understand me?
I mean, especially now going with like buyers moving into Gen Z, Gen Alpha, these values are at the forefront. That's what people care about. So what you're saying is you're looking a lot to like the environment as your, you know, as your business is growing and you're adapting or you're learning or you're tracking that and changing in your business?
We are getting more one-on-one. So people want one-on-one personalized solutions instead of one size fits all. And even though the economy is tense right now, people are willing to pay for that because they just don't have time. And I think COVID and with all the information, we're just so overwhelmed. We don't want to learn another thing. The really low ticket offers, maybe $12, $49, fine, that works. But then people are willing to pay a premium, a couple thousand, to like work with an expert who can work with them one-on-one with their team to create a system. And right now, at the time of recording, it's never been easier to do that because with AI, with these free workflows and prompts, you're not just delivering something, you're not just delivering a one-time thing, you're showing them how you can use AI to create a system over and over again to train their team. And that's what we've created with PR and AI that no one's really talking about. You don't need to hire an agency, which I've always said, but you don't even need to learn how to write a pitch. You don't even need to know what your angles are because there are AI tools like Perplexity that tells you exactly what are the customer trends, data, insights that gives you real-time citations. And so with this workflow, we've been able to help hundreds of entrepreneurs being able to have the resources of a PR agency, even if they don't have time.
So taking it back to when you first started and as you've pivoted, you've changed, like, and it's also, you know, based on the environment, based on changing values. How has your message and the way that you work change?
People just don't want an expert. I mean, maybe if you're in like the medical field or something that's very like expertise, like lawyer, yeah. But like if you're working with a consultant in something that's like marketing or a little bit more creative, expertise alone is not enough. And what I'm seeing is that the authoritative, like listing out your credentials, here's what I've done, here are the results, it's just not working as much. And so that's the first layer. The second layer is, like I said earlier, psychological resonance. So I'm making a lot of content now about how I spend my days, what I spend my money on, how I'm redefining success differently, and just honestly calling out the BS in the industry that nobody else is willing to do. And so things that are a little bit polarizing, a little bit risk-taking is really what's connecting with my right people. Yes, you will get unsubscribed, but the pinnacle of messaging is when you are so clear on who you serve and who you're not, it becomes a magnet, right? You can't simultaneously magnetize people and not repel people. And so this kind of wishy-washy, one size fits all, I'm a McDonald's, I serve everyone, I feel like that messaging is no longer working. And so I've taken a very strong stance in my content about exactly the values that I stand for. I talk about very uncomfortable things like race and belonging and community and hustle culture and toxic capitalism. And that's really attracted and called in my right people. And of course, the people who are not, like, they can unsubscribe, but that's fine. So that's really what we want. We want specific messaging. But I can tell more about your values by what you're calling out and what you're rejecting. And so that's, I think, the content that's really shifted for me. Whereas instead of being like peace and love and great, it's like, here's this BS that I'm calling out. Here is why, you know, things are still gate kept. Here's what's preventing small business from being seen. And it almost becomes like an advocacy issue for me. You know, I'm a 5 foot tall daughter of a widowed immigrant, Chinese American. I don't see myself in media a lot. And so for me, a lot of it is about how do we create a safe space for women and women of color to be seen when traditionally they've been told, you know, don't promote yourself or like don't talk about yourself. So it has definitely allowed me to dig much deeper into my message, where before it was like, get PR, like boost your SEO, very logical, rational. But now it's like, what is the deeper layer behind that? Which is, I can show you all of the PR tools, but if you don't feel safe promoting for yourself, if you don't have a community where people are cheering for you, like, it's generational work that we're doing. So that's what I mean by it, the deeper psychological safety that you must create.
Gotcha. So that pivot in like, okay, just being super, it's almost scientific, right? To, connecting on those personal beliefs, be it like the good or the bad. How is that reflected in your success? Like, how is that reflected in your business that way?
When I was, trying to scale my business, I hired a CMO, and she would always say content is king. Like you attract people with content. And I never quite was able to attract people with content because I was using the bro marketing templates, the tips and tricks and do this and don't do that. And I actually let go of the CMO, and now I've trained my AI so well on my unapologetic values and all these things. And I started to create content not from a guru or an expert, but just from like a creator who just loves creating. There's a book that I love by Rick Rubin, who's like this creative guy. He founded, he's worked with like Jay-Z and all the famous artists, and he has his long beard, kind of a hippie guy, and he has a book called The Creative Act. And what he says is that we're all artists, right? And how do we create a spaciousness for that? It's not that you have to study how to be an artist or force yourself to let your art flow through, but all need to have an opening and create that opening for it to naturally flow out of us, because it's all within us, right? I'm also dealing with imposter syndrome. I'm also dealing with work-life balance. I'm also dealing with generational stuff, money scarcity. And through these issues, I'm able to connect people, and they end up working with me. So I'm no longer leading with just the PR content, right? Because again, people don't want a guru, they want a friend.
I could not agree more. And, even personally, I've found that the more that we're so focused in whatever rules, like even if you're not intentionally looking at like, okay, so, we should be doing this, that, because we're looking at other content, if we're doing things properly, we're checking out competitors, we're checking out what's going on in the market, those things influence. And we're like, we should be doing this, we should be doing that, or we should be putting our content like that. And it affects that creativity.
You have a lot of coaches out there saying you need to batch your content, and you need to have a content day, or you need to be like newsletters, right? You need to like schedule it every day at the same time. And I feel like the more rules you put around that, the more it just sucks the joy. Now, there are newsletters, like for example, Daily Brew or whatever, they're a newsletter company, but I'm a personal brand. And so I find that like putting those rules that work for big corporations doesn't work for me and my creativity. And so one of the things I've done is I don't want to be on a schedule. I write when I feel like it. I got so inspired by going to this museum, right? And if I see an art exhibit that really like piques my interest, I'm going to start just jotting down notes, and I start speaking into my voice recorder app. Those type of emails, those type of real life experiences, so much better than like, oh, it's a Monday now, I got to do my newsletter. I don't write emails on a given schedule. I email when I feel like it, when I have something to say. Sometimes it's once every 2 weeks. Sometimes it's 4 times a week. And same thing with my podcast. It was like very strict. Like you have to publish every Monday. For the most part, I do. But when I'm traveling or with life gets busy, I'm not going to beat myself over it if I like don't publish on a Monday, I publish on a Tuesday. So I just think all of those rules of like, you should do this and you should that, I'm just like throwing it out the window.
Even if you think about this, and this applies to the trades, to service-based businesses, small, medium-sized, right? Like we're not talking about corporates here. This is not the purpose of this podcast. But the thing is, we've got all these rules, all these people telling at us, going, you should post this at this time, just post regularly. But nobody actually really cares. They're so focused on their own lives, their own issues, that say, hey, if you didn't post on your regular Monday or you didn't post on your regular Friday, they're not even going to like recognize it for the most part, unless they're like super obsessed and cult like going like, they. But even then, they're already at that level of adoring your brand.
Yeah, I went from a team of 7 and a CMO, and she could not grow my account. Like it was just great writer. I mean, she worked with amazing multi-7-figure business, could not grow my account. And the moment I took it back and I started creating from a space of openness, of not following a schedule, and just started writing about my life and planning a wedding and healing my relationship with my mom, people just came out of the woodworks to work with me. Doing content that has zero connection with what my expertise is, but then having people feel a psychological safety and an identity resonance of, oh yeah, she gets me. That is what has helped me scale my business at a time when it's been really hard. And we've been the most profitable we've ever been, and I've been the happiest I've ever been, and it shows. I used to be so bogged down with metrics and spreadsheets and team training, and it just sucked the joy out of me. I am not someone who is great at managing people, and there are people who are great at that, and I'm just not. Being able to just create spaciously, it just has allowed me to work in my zone of genius, which is narrative storytelling, which is connecting authentically and sharing what's on my mind.
So you mentioned a few different things that you've done, including from removing employees, shifting to AI, and shifting your message, your voice, etc. Have any of these positioning-based decisions cost you money in the short term, but has paid off long-term wise?
I mean, I feel like everything has a cost, right? When I was getting married last year, the whole team was in shambles. Like my most reliant on, VA wanted to quit. And then my CMO and I were not getting along. So it seemed like everything was getting ripped, like literally a carpet, like while I was getting married. And I was so stressed out that I thought I wasn't even going to be able to take a honeymoon. And I kind of just was like, you know what? I'm just going to enjoy this one time because I can't get this time back. And I kind of just didn't write emails and I didn't publish podcasts, and it was totally okay. And when I came back, I had such spaciousness and such freedom that then I was able to write from a place that people really felt that belonging and came out of the woodworks to work with me. So yes, initially the revenue dipped when I was trying to figure everything out. But then as I started to pick up the pen again and started to write, like people again just started to come out of the woodworks to work with me, and we're so much more profitable now. We're 3 times more profitable now than we were.
I think that is the biggest indicator for gaps or issues that there might be in the business. Actually taking some time off from your business, taking off 2 weeks or whatever, and do the preparation as you would do, but see what falls through during that time that you're away. And then afterwards you're like, oh, wow, like I have a checklist of things that need to be tackled so the business can grow, so the business can sell or whatever else, right? Did you find that as well?
Yeah, I always say that the hallmark of a successful entrepreneur is not, solving all the problems at once. It's knowing that you have unlimited problems, but knowing which one to solve in what order. And so I always think about, there are so many things on my to-do list, it's never ending, but what is that one bottleneck? And so for me, because I have a personal brand business, it was marketing. Like we just create so much content because, we do have a one-to-many model. Find out what is the biggest bottleneck and how can you really just solve that. If you solve that one thing, you'll feel 80% more free. And then that will create so much more spaciousness for you to then add on the other projects.
God. Yes. And I know you mentioned this just before, right? About companies needing to show what they reject, not just what they value. And you mentioned some examples, but I think there's more to it. What does this look like in your business?
So I just saw an ad for an activewear brand. And the reason why the ad was so captivating was that it basically called out all the other BS in other activewear brands. And so it was like, this is not your hip, skinny, blonde, like millennial brand. This is built for like real bodies, so it was an interesting take. And I just saw another ad from, I think it was like either Foo Fighters or Radiohead. And it was talking about how they're coming back to make authentic music, authentic content. And the whole thing was about the whole commercial was them having AI generated extra hands, and like the new drummer had 10 different arms. And so it was kind of a paradox, but it's calling out how in the age of AI created music and artistry, they are calling that out, making a parody of it and reminding you that they are aware of it, but they're going to give you something really authentic. A lot of people do PR from glitz and glam and logos on your website, but I'm those logos don't mean anything, right? If you are not feeling confident to advocate for yourself, or historically you didn't feel great to promote yourself. And so how do we work around that? And now what's happening with AI is that it's just made it so much easier for small businesses to connect with journalists in a way that you don't even need a middleman, right? The AI writes the pitch for you. It brainstorms all of the angles for you. I love Perplexity for that reason. And no one's calling that out. And so my messaging is they're still gatekeeping and they're still doing PR the old way when we are single-handedly making it so easy for small businesses who have no time and no budget to get featured and connect with the same media outlets that usually brands would pay like $20,000 for.
So what you're saying is you're calling out the excess fluff that other PR professionals are just hyping, the things that they probably get a whole bunch of extra money, but it's just adding unnecessary things. Is that right?
It's creating access, right? So my whole mission is, how do we create access for the rest of the small business owners who maybe don't have the budget for an agency? And you create access by bringing things to a very simplistic level. The more you make things complicated, the more you disempower that person and they have to work with you maybe. But I just want to help as many small businesses as possible with easy to use free everyday AI tools and prompts that they don't even need to work with me, really. They can just do it on their own. And so that's how I create access for people. But for the everyday small business owner, the ROI is just not there. And I've talked to so many business owners who are like, I spent $20,000 in an agency and I ended up getting like my own PR wins. And so my whole mission and ethos is to make it accessible, is to get something that's very gate kept and tell you exactly this is how you do it and show them the exact how and why and not keep it behind a paywall.
That is exactly the kind of strategic thinking that I see missing when businesses try to reposition themselves. I've been working with founders who they know their position isn't working anymore. Their messaging feels flat and they're attracting, the wrong clients, or even despite, when their teams have best intentions, the audience just they end up confused about what to expect. But like instead of doing that deep work that you're talking about, be it on the values, be it on what they reject, they jump straight into the surface level of like rebrands that, tend to make things worse. And the issue that I've seen is that they haven't diagnosed where their brand positioning is actually breaking down. And I've built, a brand health check that shows exactly where those gaps are and immediate like actionables to work on right away. So there's no sales pitch attached. So I will drop that link in the show notes just for everybody. Now let's talk about how this rejection and values, how that plays in your hiring and training. And I know that you mentioned a few times now that you've gotten rid of your CMO, you've gotten rid of like certain employees. Mm-hmm. Was there anyone that you've hired, and was it based on your positioning or was it based on just their skills?
We think that money is a motivator, but anyone will tell you that money is not the biggest motivator, actually. And my assistant, who wanted to quit and we were not getting along, saw that the change and the evolution that I've taken, which is leaning into abundance and trust and really building it from a community perspective instead of just making it like a factory. She is now more engaged than ever. And she is so proud of the work that we are doing because she's tied into the bigger mission of what we're doing, which is elevating small businesses and equipping them with the tools and knowledge and strategies that no one is. And because she's so enrolled in the vision, she is more engaged, performing better than ever, better than any time when I try to, counsel her or like keep her accountable on a KPI sheet. And so that has just been the breath of fresh air that we all needed, which is, how do you lean more into your why, not only just from your marketing to customers, but into your team? And so for me, it's creating spaciousness, it's radical generosity, it's pouring more love into things instead of seeing things very transactionally. And I do that now with my team too. So, we have they can take as many sick days as they want. If they don't get something done, that's totally okay. I used to be a micronan manager. I used to be a horrible nitpicker. Why didn't you do this? Now I'm just like, hey, totally fine. Take your time. And it's not a big deal. Like this, there used to be such an urgency and pressure. Like this, I call it kind of like a clenched butt cheeks ethos, right? It's like living with like your hand just like stiff like this. And now I just want to live just with unclenched butt cheeks. And I want to be able to have things flow. And so that has really helped my team to feel more spacious as well. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing to be able to evolve as a person, as a leader through my content internally and externally. And it's really the ripple effects of how I see the world. It's really changed. Before I was like, there wasn't enough money in the world that would have made me feel safe, right? I had a lot of generational trauma. My mother grew up in communist China. She never had a bathroom, a toilet, running water in her house. My uncles went to labor camps. So that got passed on to me. But through really deep work, somatic therapy, psychedelic assisted therapy. I tapped into abundance and trust and safety. And it's really affected how I communicate, help as many people for free as possible. Like in the DMs, like I'm just like, hey, like let me help you troubleshoot this. And when you approach it like that, people let their guard down. And they don't think, oh, you're just trying to sell them on something. They naturally want to work with you and keep working with you.
So it's been very much like, okay, not only your positioning, your values, your beliefs, but also the mindset that's shifted over the course of the business.
Well, I am in the business, right? Our business is a reflection of us, and it can only grow to the level that we grow. I actually just wrote an email to my subscribers about the 39 lessons I learned in 39 years. And one of them was like, your business, like having your own business, is the most savage playground and mirror for reflecting back to you all of your insecurities, all of your shortcomings, all of the things that you need to work on, because you see it play out in real life. And it's such a blessing. It can also be very painful, but I wouldn't have it other way. Like I've grown so much as an entrepreneur by having my own business, because there's no HR or rule book telling you what to do and what not to do, right? You can see your actions having real material and emotional consequences.
What are the lessons that you would impart in terms of adapting processes, adapting mindset, as you pivot, right? Like, you know, we're going into more, you know, story-based, more, you know, like the human side of things being important, because AI is so prevalent, right? Like people want to know, okay, where is the human, where are the stories, etc.
Well, I hosted my first ever New York entrepreneur event. And one of the things that I delivered was a photo shoot in Soho. And I talked to my friend, Sarah Ashman, who's like a branding genius. And I told her, I'm like, you know, what should I do to prepare to get them in the right mindset of like, these are the photos that really are, you know, that I want to use. And she's like, you know, instead of telling them like what to wear or how to pose or what to dress, leave them with this question, which is, how do I want to feel in this next chapter of my life? And I thought that was just so profound. And the same thing can be said about your marketing and positioning. How do you want people to feel? Do you want people to feel like they're in a classroom? Do you want them to feel like you're their best friend in their inner circle? Do you want, like, what is that feeling? I want to create content from a place where you can tell me I'm kind of your inner circle, trusted, confident. That's how I want to feel. And that's how I infuse that into all of my marketing and the way that I approach my clients now.
Not so much looking at what you want to be, what you want your business to be like in 10 years or 20 years. And that's my first thought when you were saying that. It's more like being in tune with yourself and your gut feeling. Like, does this actually feel right? Does this actually feel true to where I want my business and what I want it to stand for and how I want that represented?
I think from someone who had suffered burnout, because I was following all the things and, you know, doing all the things, you can tell now immediately, like when you go online, if someone is kind of dead in the eyes, like you can tell they're not really in it, but they're just doing it because this is what they're known for. And people aren't going to buy because our spider senses and our subconscious is so heightened from watching millions of videos on YouTube and Zoom during COVID that we can immediately tell within 3 seconds if this person is for real or not. As much as you try to hide, we know subconsciously, we know from just watching so many millions of hours of videos, we just know. Most business problems now are because they've just gotten too far away from their why. Like they're so focused on scaling and tools and more volume that they're so removed from their why and their mission, and their customers are starting to feel that.
That's the biggest thing I see as well. It's like everyone's hyping up automations. Everyone's hyping up like, okay, focus on business, the personal brand first, but these actually detract from your actual, the business growth. I
think there's nothing wrong with automations because we don't occupy a 24-hour, like I don't have 24 hours that I'm working, right? And so I have a limited capacity. Yeah. I actually would argue that if you use AI properly, it's just creating more space for you to do what is in your zone of genius that only humans can do. And so I think that we should use AI. I think we should automate some things. For example, customer service or posting of social media or creating reports and dashboards, right? But the stuff that only we know, our stories, our voices, That is what the space that AI has helped us create, because we're no longer doing those things.
Exactly. And that's what I mean there. It's like there's so much automation in companies that whatever the essence is, whatever they stand for, whatever they're against, or even the passion of their team, like you were talking about your hire, right? Like she is super excited. She's like fully in it because she understands where the direction is. You're able to do all those things because there is that human side, and not everything is automated. So to me, I see like, hey, let's automate to make things easier so that you can spend more time of that personal, like, hey, so this is what we represent. Look, I know the PR, the industry is hella crowded at the moment. I mean, how do you maintain your anti-gatekeeping position as it becomes more popular? You know, like people looking and eyeing the way that you do things.
I honestly think the reason why no one's doing this is because they just are so focused on the monetization as opposed to helping. And so that's why they're not sharing a lot of this content, right? They're like, you have to hire me. But my ethos, because I've leaned into radical generosity and just pouring so much love into my mission, which is helping elevate as many small businesses as possible, people walk away with my free training and they get featured. And that is what's going to get people to work with you. And so it's the energy of, like I said, expansion or constriction. If you see things transactionally and you only want to keep the good stuff behind a paywall, people are probably not going to want to work with you. But you have to trust that the more you can help people for free through your content, through this clarity that you communicate, giving people actionable steps, the more it's going to come back for you. And I am living proof of that, because I used to do the same thing, right? You know, you used to be taught, well, tell them the what, not the how. You know, like what information do you really have that I can't figure out on AI? Like very, very little. So the problem now we need to solve is not what information or strategies, but how can you create the quickest path for someone to do it in a clear and time-saving manner? How do you create systems for them that they can then, you know, repeatedly use? And so that's really what I'm focused on, is how can I not just give you a fish, but how can I teach you to fish? And AI has made it so much easier.
What would you recommend for businesses who are listening now? And you know, you've gone through these pivots, these adjustments as your business has grown, as you've grown as well, right? What would you recommend for their positioning to stay at the forefront?
Lean into what you're actively rejecting and attracting the right people through that lens of values. Not just, oh, we're for, but like, what are you actually rejecting? What are you calling out that nobody wants to? That will get you noticed for sure, because it's an act of courage. No one really wants to do that, right? That's the first thing from a values perspective. The second thing is know what season of business you're in. And so there are seasons where you are ramping things up. There are seasons when you are more external facing, when you're more internal facing. I think where people get wrong is they see all these shiny new objects. Oh, you need SEO, and now you need AI, and now you need YouTube. And it's like, you just kind of go very shallow in all of these. But figure out what is the season of business you are in and orientate your business activity to match that capacity. How are you making it easier for them? Not flooding them with more content. And so that's the season that I'm in right now. And so every time, like every season that you're in, just orientate all of your goals for that. And I'm sure you've heard of this before. It's, you can get everything you want in life, just not all at the same time. So what is it that you're looking for this season? And maybe next season you focus on something else.
Oh my God. I love that. And that, honestly, that leads in perfectly to this last question here. And this is a question I ask everybody that comes on board. And that is, what is one social norm that you want to push back against? And it doesn't necessarily have to be on the topic of this episode.
I honestly hate networking. I find it to be gross. I don't want to go to networking events. It just gives me the ick. And there's not to say that people don't get tremendous ROI on it, but I feel like networking of this, what do you do and how can you help me? It doesn't ever really produce lasting collaborations. One, because everyone's doing the same thing. So at one networking event, maybe, you're talking to 50 people and they all want something from you, and it doesn't create a lasting impression. And I think that now what we want is genuine connection. And genuine connection can't be built when you're volumizing it and trying to scale. So I actually prefer to go deeper than wider. I think a lot of people are feeling the same way. So I think the social norm is like, oh, you need to network more. And it's like, I don't think you need to network more. I think that's actually BS. I think you need to get clear on your values. You need to get clear on who you're for, who you're not for. And automatically you will magnetize the right people who genuinely want to connect with you without you even having to work that hard to network. And so I think the energy of like urgency and like, oh, I need to network and I need to talk to these people, like the other person can feel that. And it just kind of makes them immediately like have their guard up.
So what would you say to homebodies that don't necessarily want to go out? Like what's the other option?
But it's absolutely okay. It's absolutely okay. And that there's so much richness in going much deeper with a smaller group of people. I think for so long, the business world is always like more, more, more. And I don't think more is better. I think better is better. And better is different for every person. And so define your better. But I don't think that more is always better.
So like having these little small meetups, right? I love it.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you so much, Gloria. We went hella deep. And to you, my badass listener, thanks for tuning in. You can reach out to Gloria from the show notes as well as access to that brand health check. And if you love this episode, drop me a 5-star review. And let's go get badass.
No more excuses. No more branding band-aids.
App
Yay.
not focused. What does that even mean?
Yeah. I really hope the audio is perfect because I was very disappointed when she sent me that.
Keeping Squadcast tab
not focus on mine either.
active. Okay, so as in like stay on that tab. Like
you're a little dark though.
I don't know how to fix that. I have this light.
I guess the light just needs to be closer.
Dude, if it's any closer, it'll be like that's too close.
Too close.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. I feel so
cool.
white.
Awesome. I just got back from Sardinia, so that's why I'm like super tan. But I'm like I'm so tanned. Like, look at this. And this is 3 weeks faded. Like, I feel like I'm a bodybuilder that's getting like chocolated up on stage without the muscles.
You know what that means. Now you just need to go and get the muscles.
Oh, if it was that easy, yes. Tell me where I can get those.
The art of positioning. Let's freaking go.